welcome to Week and Geek, your new comics preview for August 18th. I'm Random.
And I'm Unpredictable.
So what do you got?
I'm going to lead off here with actually probably a fairly predictable one. Although people would have thought that this would have been a top pick, and maybe that's unpredictable.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Walking Dead number 101. I really liked issue 100, even though, like I said, I was telling a lot of people it ruined my day. I'm assuming you're caught up at this point. I'll dance around the issue, but a major character died that upset a lot of us. And it sort of seemed like it was just to kill them for the sake of killing them. And that's kind of the way it felt in the beginning. And yet you read this issue and you realize not only is that the first time we've seen Negan, it's the first time anyone has seen Negan. So maybe that's where the big plot point is. Now are we going to build with him a little longer? Is he going to be around maybe longer, kind of like the governor? Something happens in this issue that's rather interesting. I mean, everything that the people that I talked about that were a little frustrated with the issue, you know, Rick's a coward, Rick's this, Rick let it happen, this is all Rick's fault. That's touched on in this. There are some other little things. There's some great little moments. Even, I don't want to say too much, but there's a really nice little moment between two of the characters that I really, really enjoyed and felt was necessary. And both characters needed it, and I really enjoyed it. So that one, I enjoyed this book quite a bit. It just isn't the top pick because of what the top pick is. And then we'll get to that later. Next, I'm looking at Daredevil number 17. Love this book. We got a nice Mike Allred cover on there. If only Mike Allred was actually doing the... He did do the interiors. Oh, man.
Isn't he? Is he alternating with Sammy?
Is he now with Sammy?
Could be. I don't know. I can't keep the artist straight on that.
I like the idea of Mike Allred doing Daredevil, though. You know, a couple people asked me why we didn't cover It Girl in the Atomics last week, and I was like, well, it had a great team on it, but it wasn't Mike Allred. I would like to see some Mike Allred living in his own universe he created, but seeing him do Daredevil looks fantastic. Kind of fits with the pop art thing they've been doing anyway. Next up, I'm looking at Bloodshot number 2 from Valiant Comics. I'm going to give this one a shot here. I want to at least finish the first arc, even though I enjoyed the first issue. I thought the first half was a little weird. By the time they got to where they were, I thought it was a much better written book. I just don't like it as much as EXO and Harbinger, and even Archer Armstrong was great from last week. 2 weeks ago. Agreed. So I'm going to see where this one goes. I'm going to at least give it through the arc and see what they do here. This one's all stuck together. I can't even flip through it. But hopefully,
somebody enjoyed it.
Hey, perhaps. Next, we're looking at Saucer Country number 6. I really like this book. I've been liking this book the whole way through. It's very, very weird. The governor is going to be running for president. She's now trying to trick some psychiatrist that had hypnotized her, and she pulled a little fandango there. And we're getting a little deeper into what our other characters are seeing and what's happened. This looks really strange. We're getting more aliens even in this issue than we'd had in previous. So, I like this book. I really like where it's been going. This should be the end of the arc, I'm guessing, if this is issue 6. So that should kind of bring things full circle, and then we'll see where they're going a little bit better, I guess. Next, I'm looking at Shade number 11. We're getting to the end of this Shade maxi series. It's been cool. As I've said before, it's sort of our walk through the DC, the new 52. He's dealing with lots of different characters and, all these new characters that we know but don't know. It's been pretty cool stuff, and like I said, we're reaching a conclusion.
Yeah, looking forward to the collected edition on that myself.
Yeah, it's cool. It's really, really good. I imagine the collected's probably going to do better than the issues did, just because it's a maxi series. It's 12 issues, so I think a lot of people are like, well, I'm just going to wait. We've got Avengers number 29 here. This is going to tie into A vs. X. Looks pretty cool. Looks like, Cap is in a showdown here with Angel, Iceman, and I have no idea who the strange girl is there. But all this A vs. X stuff has been really cool. I've been really, really liking this book. And
there's like more Simonson art, too.
Yeah. His stuff is absolutely gorgeous. You can't get enough Walter Simonson there. So, if you've been reading A vs. X, you might as well be reading, the core Avengers and X-Men titles. So that'll give you a little bit more of that story. Then we're looking at Dark Avengers, which does not tie in, but has been kind of fun. What I like about it is not only are we dealing with that Dark Avengers team that Norman's assembled, it's still dealing with the Thunderbolts team. So it is still telling their story. I was afraid it was another Marvel switcheroo where they just gave a book to someone else.
Right, like they did with Hercules and the Hulk and things like that.
And Black Panther to Daredevil.
Yeah.
This they actually, lo and behold, I'm flabbergasted that Marvel actually told a story that kind of made sense. Next, I'm looking at Dead World, War of the Dead, number 3, 3 of 5. It's a weekly series here. As we mentioned before, this is written by Gary Reed, local innovator and, on the forefront of creator-owned comics for years, publisher of Caliber Comics. It's kind of cool to have Dead World back. It was one of the first zombie books, sentient zombies at that, which is kind of interesting and fun stuff. If you haven't been reading that, you should give that a whirl. Then we've got Fatale, number 7. Love this book as well. I think this book has been really cool. I love Ed Brubaker's stuff, and I think he really does best when he's doing noirish detective-y tales. And that's sort of what he brought to Daredevil, too, and that's why that worked so well, is because he was really just doing noir adventures, and they were really cool. And this is exactly that. I mean, there are moments that are sort of believable, and then you get like a weird Cthulhu monster in there. Like, what the hell is going on? So it has a little bit of, that science fiction, a little bit of horror, but it's primarily noirish detective-y stuff. Cool stuff. We should have I think a trade coming on that soon.
Yeah, I think so.
And that takes me through the bulk of my stack. What are you looking at there?
I'm going to start off with Amazing Spider-Man 691.
It's a great cover.
This, I believe, concludes the storyline with Spider-Man versus the Lizard.
Okay.
The Lizard had switched back to Kurt Connor's body, but it was actually still the Lizard's mind.
Interesting.
And it was actually kind of because he was unable to turn back into the Lizard because of the potion that Morbius gave him. Although he kept regrowing his arm, and he would have to chop his arm off because people thought would have recognized it. Something was up, but he couldn't actually turn back into the Lizard. So he's trying to find a way to become reptilian again. He's experimenting on the other people at Horizon. So now there's a bunch of lizards running around, except the Lizard, who is not a lizard. He's a human. So kind of a neat twist. And this is wrapping up that storyline. He's trying to become now sort of a super lizard because he has combined the lizard potion with the mutant growth hormone, which is just sort of the generic Marvel superhero drug.
Right. I like it though. It works. It works.
It lets you do whatever you need to do. So we've got Spider-Man continuing that. He has to cure all the people from Horizon and still deal with Morbius, who's running around sucking people's blood. Next up, A versus X, Avengers versus X-Men, round 10. Again, this has been a pretty solid book. Overall, this has been a good crossover. This one is written by Brubaker with art by Andy Kubert, so we got some good people on this one. This is issue 10. We're in the home stretch, so stuff's getting real.
And there's only two of the X-Men with the Phoenix power now, right? It's Cyclops and Emma Frost.
Scott and Emma. And
it looks like things are gonna.
And we got some stuff with Hope. So yeah, we're gonna see. I mean, so far, from the beginning, people were making predictions about this book, and it seems like all the predictions people are making, even once the Phoenix 5 popped up, everybody had the ending figured out. Nope, still not happening.
Nope.
So I'm enjoying this book, if for no other reason than it really has gone beyond just superhero slugfest into a completely different storyline.
Which I think is pretty cool. I've been enjoying it.
It's been keeping you guessing, and the artwork has been really solid. I mean, if some people may not like John Romita Jr. stylistically, I don't understand that at all, but it's still good stuff. But now we've got which one here? Adam Kubert on the artwork choice.
And let's real quickly, while you mentioned Kubert there, let's put a comment out there for Joe Kubert, and our condolences to his family. And obviously the comic industry is going to miss him. He was a fantastic artist and created some great characters over at DC. Had the opportunity to meet Joe Kubert in the past year when he's been doing more and more conventions, and was just a fantastic guy. He was. I met him last year at Toronto Fan Expo and had a chance to talk to him for a couple minutes. Really cool, gracious guy who seemed like he was very interested in meeting the fans. And, he was at C2E2, and again, it was great. He had a much longer line at C2E2 than he did in Toronto. And to hear the news that he had passed away, I was completely shocked and saddened to hear that news.
And also a great teacher. I mean, the Kubert School has turned out many, many great artists, so he's definitely given back to the comic community in many, many ways, and he will be missed. And, I mean, that's just a reminder that go out and see that older generation of comic book artists, because every year that group is getting smaller and smaller, and unfortunately the tales they have to tell are kind of diminishing as time goes on.
Yep.
But to bring it back to today and to a happier note, although I don't know if this is happier, we've got Green Lantern number 12. It looks like they have another fill-in artist on this one, which is unfortunate, but still not too bad.
That's pretty good, though.
It's got Hal Jordan and Sinestro against Black Hand. So it's been some good stuff. This has actually really seen quite a rebound after the New 52 relaunch. This last year has really been one of the most kind of energetic years for this book in quite a while.
It's been really cool. Done some really, really neat stuff, I've thought.
Some more Green Lantern with Green Lantern the Animated Series. This is a very different Green Lantern book. As we've mentioned before, this is based on the cartoon show.
Looks like Art and Franco are back.
Art and Franco are back on this one, which is good. These are actually a very different take. They're done in ones. There's a longer storyline in the cartoon, and this kind of ties in with that. But for the most part, these are just sort of classic, simple, very Silver Agey tales that fit in that Green Lantern animated universe. Next up, we've got the Green Lantern Corps. We've got 3 green ones in a row. This is continuing the Green Lanterns and their battle with the Alpha Lanterns. We had the trial of John Stewart, and then they broke John Stewart out. And now we've got the Green Lanterns up against the Alpha Lanterns. All of this is tying into whatever's going on with the Guardians. In the Green Lantern book, the Red Lantern book, Green Lantern New Guardians, all of this stuff is tying into the Guardians, basically trying to get rid of all of the Lanterns and replace them with this third army that will be coming up as the crossover in the Green Lantern books very, very soon. Next up, John Constantine Hellblazer. Again, Peter Milligan's doing a great job on this book. Last issue
for a long time.
Yeah, this is one of the longer runs and a pretty solid, stable run. Giuseppe Camuncoli doing a very different look here than he does on Spider-Man. I mean, it's kind of neat to see him at 2 different companies, 2 completely different tones. But basically, John Constantine's long-lost nephew is carrying on the Constantine curse and causing some trouble and casting some magic spells, and John's got to find him and sort of take care of the situation. I had forgotten that he had a nephew running around out there. When this book's been going on 294 issues, almost 300 issues, you can forget a few things, but it's nice that they're reaching back into the continuity, reminding us that, there are some more Constantines out there. And as we found out, pretty much everybody with that name and that bloodline is trouble. And now John's got to deal with that trouble. Next up, Revival number 2. I was really surprised how much I liked that first issue.
Me too. It was good.
I didn't know a lot about it. I'd seen some previews. I had heard some interviews. We had some comments about the way they were promoting the book. But ultimately, it was a great book.
It was.
A very, very original idea. People are basically coming back from the dead, but they're not zombies.
I'm surprised someone hasn't done this as a TV show yet.
I have a feeling that they will.
Yeah, it very much felt like what the networks are looking for right now.
But it's a great book. I don't want to say too much because the premise is interesting. We don't want to give away too much.
Correct.
Just go and read it because it's not a zombie book.
It's not a zombie book, and there also isn't a strong religious angle yet, even though there are some minor undertones. When you're approaching a story like this, usually there would be more religious undertones, and I don't feel like that's too much yet.
Yeah, well, I think they're doing it very realistic.
Yeah.
That's the thing that really got me is I could see these being realistic reactions to what's going on in this book, as opposed to what you normally get in a lot of horror stuff where they kind of go for something a little bit more broad. I mean, this is...
And it's not straight up horror yet. Like, it's kind of drama.
Yeah. And will it be horror?
I don't know.
We don't know. And that's the thing. This is a book, again, that I can't tell you what's coming.
Right.
I don't know what their game is yet.
I've read that second issue, and I don't either.
Yeah, so that's good stuff. If you want something, if you're one of the people who complains about there's nothing original, there's nothing new, here's original and a new right there.
Yes.
So check it out. Next up, Butcher Baker, The Righteous Maker, number 8. I have no idea what's going on in this book. The last issue came out in October of last year, and even then I was not caught up. This is, I think, a little bit of a warning to some of the Image people and creator-owned people. If this had been a heavy week, I probably would have passed on this book.
Okay.
But because I don't have a big list, I'll give it a shot. But yeah, when you've got, from October to August is your gap, you've got a good chance of losing a bunch of people. Yeah, I mean, even if I was caught up, which I wasn't, I wouldn't know what's going on in this book. So, but they've addressed this. Joe Casey has taken actually on this one, I think he blamed the artist. But basically, some of these guys, they're doing.
Always get blamed.
Well, he took the blame on Godland being late and gave the blame to Mike Hudson. But basically, they both have a lot of stuff going on. Joe Casey's doing all those Action Man things. They're doing a lot of cartoons. They're doing a lot of things that, frankly, pay a lot better than comic books.
Sure.
Professional illustration. So this is their side job. So you have to cut them a little bit of slack, but also that's where it gets into, maybe with some of these books you just wait until the story's done and get it in trade, because you may not ever get an ending. Where is the Great Unknown #5? We're still waiting on that one.
I loved that book.
It was a great book, and we're never going to get an end to that story. But that's pretty much my stack.
All right, that brings me to the top of my stack here, which I'm looking at Harbinger #3. Like this book. I thought issue 1 was great. I thought issue 2 was even better. As I've said before with these Valiant books, I already have a lot of built-in expectations. I think they're doing a great job of sort of touching on the story as it existed before, and yet doing their own thing. And I complain about reboots in movies all the time. In comics, I think this is respectful, the way they're doing it. And sometimes you don't always get that. You see things that are silly and, wow, this doesn't really have an interest to me. This stuff's great. It's kind of taking those old concepts. It's trying to make I imagine they're going to make a cohesive universe, but they haven't done that yet. They haven't bothered to tie them all in just yet because they're trying to get to where they need to be first, and I think that's important. And we've got Pete Stanchek, had met Harada in the last issue and had a really interesting conversation with him as, I think, was it a cat or a dog or something?
There's a dog.
Was it a dog?
Yeah. He's
having a conversation with him, and it was kind of strange, but sort of cool. And then he ends up at the Harbinger Foundation, and, if you've read these books before, in those books, Harada was the bad guy. In these books, Pete's not the good guy he used to be, so I don't know what they're going to do, and I like that. I like that I know and I don't know. I have a reasonable level of expectation with some room for them to surprise me, and they've already been doing that. So Harbinger, great book. All the Valiant stuff, really, has really been great, so check that stuff out. What are you looking at there?
Talk about unpredictable. Saga came out this week, and for the 6th issue in the row, Saga is a top pick. The only question is who's going to get it this week.
Right, exactly.
I had a smaller list, so I got it. It's Saga #6. We've been singing the praises of this book all along. If you have not jumped on yet, jump on soon. I don't know if this is the end of an arc or something. 6th issue usually is, but
it should be the end of the arc. The last issue was sort of ended with that surprise. So they should certainly be continuing with that. But the way they tell a story, I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe we don't come back to that for another issue. Who knows the way Vaughn tells a tale?
But this is continuing what is one of the best books being published.
Absolutely.
Great space opera, great writing, great artwork. Again, people complaining about nothing new. Here's new, and not just new, but really, really good. So I really can't think of anything more to say about it that we haven't said 5 times before, other than please just try this book out.
Yeah, Fiona Staples' artwork is incredible. Brian K. Vaughan is hitting on every single cylinder. I think he's doing a great job. And it's not the Hood. It's not Runaways. It's not Why the Last Man. Yeah. It's not Lost.
Yeah.
It's something very, very different from what he's done before. I mean, Why the Last Man has some science fiction. This is different. This is that science fiction mixed with fantasy.
Well, this is a big space opera.
Yeah.
Sci-fi. This is unlike anything that he's done before. This is probably my favorite thing of all of the work he's done.
And the main characters,
a lot of it.
The main characters are not necessarily the main characters. Like he's done it's more of an ensemble piece than you realize when you first read that first issue.
And this is kind of a big, sprawling, I've complained in the past about a lot of comic books feel like they're movie pitches or they feel like they're TV shows. This doesn't feel like that. I mean, this is too big for a TV show. This is too dense for a movie. I mean, the closest thing that there would be to this is maybe a series of sci-fi novels, which is something you don't normally get in a comic book, and just really, this is just comic books done well. That's my top pick.
Right on with that. That is your Week in Geek.